This is the Louie Tee Network.
Me, Louie T. Welcome to lockdown coverage week number 14 in the National Football League. Detroit Lions at home taking on the Bears. NFC North family business. Throw the records out the window. They're irrelevant. These two teams know each other. That's why it's family business. And so you knew this was going to be a competitive football game. And look, the Bears have been pretty consistent of late in terms of playing competitive football. Now, again, I've said it time and time again with this Bears team. They're not going to win a ton of games because they don't have enough right now, and they're not good enough, but they're going to be in ball games, and they're going to scare the hell out of some teams. Case in point, week 14, Detroit Lions. Let's talk about this game and the impact. Lions get the win. It was not pretty. Got some questions after this game. Going to see what happens moving forward, but they get the win, and now they're in second place in the NFC conference. They're trying to get a first-round bye. Schedule going to get really tough on the Lions down the stretch. We'll see how they handle their schedule coming up. But before we jump into this breakdown, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting that red subscribe button on YouTube, on the Louie Tee Network to subscribe to the channel. Also, I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead and give me a like there. All my social media platforms up in that box in the center console, scrolling across the screen so you can't miss any of them. Go ahead, handle your business. Like, follow, and subscribe to all my different social media platforms. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown. We're going to start with the team that got it done in this game, the Detroit Lions, who moved their record to 9-4, getting closer and closer to clinching the NFC North division as they continue to win, and they actually leapfrog the Seattle Seahawks for the second overall seed in the NFC conference with this win, and coupled with that Seattle Seahawks loss. So now you're in that elite territory if you're the Detroit Lions. You're trying to get that first round bye. You're trying to get that home playoff game that will set up an opportunity for you to just need to go on the road once to win to get to the Super Bowl. That's the way you want to carve out that path to get to where you ultimately want to go. And so the Lions playing confident football right now. Again, this was not pretty. It was not pretty. Let's talk about this from the Lions' perspective in this game. I thought they did some okay things offensively, but this wasn't the offense that we saw a week ago against the Saints. And this Bears defense, give them credit. Like I said, scrappy group, young, they've got some stuff. I said the Bears, the least of their problems is on the defensive side of football. Where they're going to struggle is going to be on the offensive side. So you saw that, and you had to know that they were going to make the Lions work for everything that they got in this game. And with no Theo Riddick, you knew that was going to really scale back some of the things they wanted to do offensively. I actually thought that Dwayne Washington didn't have that bad of a game, actually. I was actually somewhat impressed with what he did on the ground. No one on that team is quite the pass catcher out of the backfield that Theo Riddick is. He's a mismatch nightmare. So you knew you were going to be missing that element there. And Zach Zenner does what Zach Zenner does, the Z-Man does, which is plod along. So the running game and the pass catching aspect out of the backfield was missing for the Lions in this game. But as Matthew Stafford has done all season long, he's created with what he's been given, whether Marvin Jones is healthy or non-existent, or Golden Tate is healthy, playing well or non-existent. He just finds guys, and I'm telling you who's been a godsend for you this year has been Anquan Bolden on third downs. That's been your go-to guy. He's been money for you. Without him, I don't know where this team is right now. He's been that clutch for you this season, and he remains that way, and he continues to be a huge fixture. And I think I've already said that about 3 or 4 times this season, but that just goes to show how much of an impact he's had on this Lions football team. Bolden is the consummate professional and just knows how to get open on third downs and makes the tough catches. And Stafford trusts him. And you see that rapport being built. And that's a big matchup each and every single week for the Lions is Anquan Bolden against whomever's in the slot. He's been winning that matchup all season long. Stafford's ability to use his legs, that's probably the one thing I've been most impressed with him this season is his ability to, and it's not like he just created this niche for himself or he just started doing this. He's been doing this for much of his career, but it just seems like this year he's not only using his legs to create yards, for his team, but he's using his legs to create more time to drive the football down the field and create. And I don't know if he was doing both of them at the same time, whether it's running with his legs like he did for the game-winning touchdown, or running to create like he did for the deep ball that set up a touchdown to Marvin Jones, or the deep ball to Marvin Jones, where he scrambles out of the pocket to lose the rush, scrambles outside the pocket, and then throws the deep ball down the field to Marvin Jones that set up another touchdown for this Lions football team. I don't know if he was doing both of them in conjunction with one another. It's a beautiful thing to watch because his ability to extend the play is almost Aaron Rodgers-esque. You don't hear us say that much about other quarterbacks around the league, but I think Matthew Stafford is starting to develop that confidence that I can extend, I can create, and I can do off schedule with the best of them, and you're seeing that. And I think that's a big key for him and this team offensively is that he create off schedule and make plays down the field. And they do a good job, and it's an art. It's a skill that receivers understand that the play's never dead with my quarterback. See, the teams around the league that don't have quarterbacks who extend, they don't know what to do when that quarterback escapes and breaks the pocket and breaks contain and is looking to drive it down the field. They don't know what to do. They don't know how the scramble drill works because they're not accustomed to it. In Detroit, you can tell that they know Matthew Stafford is never going to quit on the play, so we need to keep trying to work back to him or break up the field and give him a target to throw the football to because he can extend the play, and we need to make sure that we're readily available for him when he does to give him an opportunity to get rid of the football. So they do a really good job, do those receivers, of creating space and throwing options for him once he does break the pocket. And again, that's a skill and an art that is perfected by not only the quarterback, but the receivers as well. And so they do a really good job of that in Detroit. Defensively, again, not one of the best games I've seen from the Lions. I thought that they gave up some yards on the ground to Jordan Howard, but then again, who hasn't been giving up yards to him this season of late? They've been running the football very effectively in Chicago, and they ran it again. And if they would have given it to him, 5 or 6 more times, he probably would have eclipsed 100 yards in this game. I thought that final drive of the game was why the Bears are right now 3-10. I mean, you get a catch to Cameron Meredith that gives you an opportunity to get into field goal range, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Bears. I don't want to talk about that while I'm talking about the Lions. We'll get to that, but you give up some opportunities down the stretch, and luckily enough for you, penalties were called on the Bears to negate those big gains that would have put them in field goal range to at least tie the game up, possibly give them an opportunity to go for the lead. The pick six by Matthew Stafford, that was a big, big play in the game because you had control of the game and that pick. And again, you were only up by 3, but you still were in control. You felt like we got these boys. And you throw the pick, and now you're down 4, 17-13. So that was a huge play. Of course, we know about the Stafford injury. He had to wear a glove for the remainder of the game. A couple of dislocated and broken. I don't know if anything's quite broken there, but I know there's some dislocations going on there with his actual hand, throwing hand. So there's a question as to how will this affect him. I don't know if it was the throwing hand or not. I think it was the throwing hand, but the question is, how does this affect him moving forward? Again, the rest of this game, I thought he was fine. He was sharp. Ball was where it needed to be. I expect that. Adrenaline flowing. It happens. Hasn't had a chance to set. Swelling hasn't set in. All of that stuff. That will happen today and moving forward. So the question is, how effective will he be come next Sunday versus the Giants? How effective will he be come the following Monday versus the Dallas Cowboys? How effective will he be moving forward with this injury? We're going to see. That's interesting in itself, because if Stafford isn't right moving forward, and I've been told by Lions fans that he's had an injury similar to this before, so it's not like this is brand new to him and he doesn't know how to react to it, but still, every injury is its own entity. We'll see what happens with this, because he was playing such good football. Remember, I talked about Stafford being a guy that needs to be included in the MVP discussion. Let's see if this injury changes the way that he plays and changes our outlook on the Detroit Lions moving forward. We'll see. Only time will tell. But when they needed him in this game down the stretch, he did what he's done all season long, and that's take his team down the field. Lions, of their 9 wins, 8 of them they've trailed in the fourth quarter. This was no different. Trailed in the fourth quarter 17-13 after the pick six thrown by Stafford, picked off by LeBlanc and gotten into the end zone. He had to take his team down the field, and he knew he had to make amends for the mistake that he made, and he took his team down the field. They got in the end zone. Stafford creates with his legs, gets into the end zone, and they did what they had to do defensively at the end. Like I said, it wasn't pretty. Speaking of which, let's go to the Bears and talk about the Bears in this game. The officials, anytime Jeff Triplett is doing your game, you know you're going to have some penalties called, and they actually had a snafu in this game where Dwayne Washington runs for a 14-yard gain, and they call hands to the face on the Lions, and it was actually on the Bears. And so how do you do that? How do you make that kind of mistake? That's a 24-yard mistake you just made. You just negated my 14-yard gain, and you're sending me back 10 more yards on top of things. You can't make that 24-yard mistake if you're Jeff Triplett and his crew. That can't happen. I'm pretty sure the Lions are going to be pissed off, and they need to send that into the league, because that's insane. You can't make that kind of mistake. In any event, the Bears did what they've done all season, especially of late, which is be ultra competitive. Again, they had Tennessee on the ropes, probably should have beat the Titans. They had a really strong performance last week in the win. Then you turn around and you have an opportunity to win in this game. They've been playing good football since Matt Barkley has come into the lineup. I've been actually impressed with him, especially the last 2 weeks. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. This isn't the Matt Barkley that I saw in Philadelphia or Arizona. I mean, where's this guy coming from? And so this was pretty impressive here. This is the guy that was at USC. He's playing with some confidence right now. And they had a shot in this game. The defense continues to play. I told you, I've been impressed with this Bears defense. And the funny part is, it doesn't matter who's in the lineup. They've went through so many players. They've got so many young guys that are out there just playing, that it's a testament to the type of depth that they could potentially have on the defensive side of football, because half of their defense isn't suiting up, the guys that are supposed to be starting, and yet they're competitive each and every single week. And that's, to me, a hallmark of John Fox anyway. Like, they're going to play defense because that's John Fox's calling card. It's like, we're going to be competitive, we're going to play hard, and we're going to play defense. Can't speak for the offense, don't really know what's going to happen there, but defensively, we're going to play football. And you're seeing that with this Bears football team. They were feisty. Leonard Floyd continues to be a problem off the edge. They were getting pressure on Matthew Stafford. They were flushing him. Stafford's ability to escape did hurt them a couple of times in this game, on the deep ball to Marvin Jones, on the touchdown run to give them the lead, which ended up being the game-winning score. His legs did hurt them, but they had him running for his life in this game, and that's a sight for sore eyes for Bears fans. I don't worry about them defensively week in, week out. It's the offense that I worry about, and like I said, Matt Barkley, not bad. Jordan Howard, you would love to see him get more touches. 13 carries, 86 yards. He needs to touch it more. He was too good in this game to not have more touches for this Bears football team. He's too good of a running back not to touch it upwards of 17 to 22 times a game. And his effectiveness is going to help the passing game along. And so I just didn't think he touched it enough in this game. Had some big runs. They just need to get him more involved. And Matt Barkley, like I said, played well. they don't have the best receivers. It seems like Bellamy has a big drop each and every single week. But down the stretch, they had opportunities, and they just, this is why they're 3-10. I can't say this enough. I can't reiterate this enough. This is why they're 3-10. You got them right where you want them. You get the big catch and run to Meredith, and you're in Detroit Lions. You're deep in their territory now. You're in field goal range. All right. If you don't gain another yard, you're probably looking at a 42, 43-yard Connor Barth field goal to tie the game up at 20. They call holding on Charles Leno Jr. Okay, cool. So you go back 10 yards. You're like, all right. They do it again, this time to Daniel Braverman. Great throw, great poise by Matt Barkley to Daniel Braverman, the rookie. And you're like, wow. They did it again. Seriously, like they picked up 20 plus 2, 22. They're in field goal range again. And holding again. And at this point, you're like, wow, we can't. It's now 1st and 30. What are you going to do with that? And it's tough. It's really tough. That you had opportunities. That throw to Meredith for the touchdown to get it to 10. Come on. That was a beautiful throw by Matt Barkley. He's playing with confidence right now. He really is playing with confidence. And I'm not saying that he's the quarterback of the future or anything of the sort, but he's giving them something to think about in Chicago right now. I will say that much. It seems like everyone but Jay Cutler has played well for the Bears this season at the quarterback position. Billy Ho, before the injury, was playing some good football. Matt Barkley's coming in, playing some good football. I'm just saying. We'll see what happens. But not able to get it done. The mistakes hurt them late. You need one stop at the end, and you can't get it. You allow the Lions to go and get the go-ahead score. You get an opportunity to tie it up, and you make mistakes and penalties that cost you that opportunity, and you fall 20-17, and you drop to 3-10 on the season. It's a Bears team that's going to continue to fight and continue to be scrappy, but again, the cards are stacked against them in terms of talent, and they're going to fall short most weeks, but they gave it a run in the division against the Lions. Lions get it done, run their record to 9-4. With the Seahawks loss later on in the day, they catapult them and leapfrog them into second place in the conference. And now, with the Cowboys losing on Sunday Night Football, it's interesting because now, all of a sudden, you have a situation where if you win against the Giants in Week 15 and the Cowboys lose to the Buccaneers that night, now all of a sudden that Week 16 matchup could be for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Let's not go too far and start looking at other games and overlooking teams that are right in front of you. This Giants team just beat the Cowboys. They're hungry. They still think they have an outside shot at the NFC East. So they're trying to get another W. They're not in the playoffs yet. So they know they have work to do. So can't start looking to the future and overlooking a good opponent right in front of you if you're the Lions. But just know what's at stake. A win in Week 15 could potentially set up some fireworks in Week 16. So if you're the Lions, you've positioned yourself right where you want to be to really do some serious damage in this conference. Not just your division, the conference. If you continue to win, we'll see what happens. It wasn't pretty, but you found a way to get it done, and that's what the good teams in this league do with the 20-17 victory at home over the Chicago Bears to get to 9-4. And now the Lions are the second seed in the NFC conference right now in a position to secure a first-round bye if they can continue to win. For the Bears, 3-10, it is what it is. Another tough loss, competitive but tough nonetheless. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. You know how we do it here. Lockdown coverage all day long, breaking down all of Sunday's action. I'll be back with many more games to look at, including Colts and Texans. Huge AFC South matchup. Texans, sweep of the Colts? Really? Maybe? I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it. I'll see you a little bit later on. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you a little bit later on. Have a good one.